Okay, we are going to start the meeting. This is the Grand Traverse County Resource Management Administration Committee of the Whole. Today is Wednesday, January 9th, 2013. It is about 4 after 7 p.m. Just for the public's information, we have technical difficulties with the microphone system here at the board. The microphones appear to be working for the video replay and the live, but the speakers in the room for some reason aren't working. So we'll try to speak up a little bit louder for those of you that are here, and if there are any difficulties in watching, you'll know that we've got this issue that we'll have to deal with. So we will open up the meetings. If you have a cell phone, please put it on silent or vibrate. We'll start with the opening ceremonies, and that will be the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask Commissioner Dan Lathrop, Dr. Dan Lathrop, to lead us to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we certainly want to welcome some new board members to we had the organizational meeting on January 2nd, but this is really the first business meeting, and we want to introduce Commissioner Charlie Rennie, welcome, and Commissioner Dr. Dan Lathrop. And we also have new civil counsel, and if you could just introduce yourself briefly to the board and a little bit about you, that would be great.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Forsyth. As Chair just said, I'm the new Deputy Civil Counsel for Grand Traverse County, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight.
All right. Cool. Well, let's do the roll call attendance, please.
Commissioner Lathrop?
Here.
Lemkool?
Here.
Maxbauer?
Here.
Rennie?
Here.
Thomas?
Yep.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Chairman Inman?
Here. Okay. We're all here tonight. Next item is the approval of the minutes for the December 12th, 2012 regular meeting for RMA.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes of the December 12th meeting as distributed.
Okay. Is there a second? Moved by Commissioner Wheelock, seconded by Commissioner Thomas to approve the December 12th, 2012 minutes.
Roll call.
Yes, it will be a roll call.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to ask, those that were not in attendance at this meeting, do they have the right to vote, or should they excuse themselves from voting?
That's why
we said
We've
roll
always
call.
done it that way, but I'm asking if that is
As long
proper
as there's
protocol.
4 of us here that were there, we're going to be okay. They can abstain from this vote.
I just was asking if that's proper protocol.
Yeah, if they were in the audience, they can, if they were in the audience attending the meeting, then they could vote for it, but if they weren't, and if they weren't present, they don't have to vote for it. Roll call.
Commissioner Lemkool?
Yes.
Maxbauer?
Abstain.
Rennie?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Lathrop?
I'm going to abstain. I wasn't there.
Chairman Inman?
Yes. Okay, motion passes. We will move on to the first public comment.
Special minute,
You got
with
your
special.
Oh,
meeting
I'm
minutes.
sorry, that's not in the agenda item, I'm sorry, but we do have it on the desk. We do have the special meeting, which was a closed session on December 12th, 2012. You have those minutes in your envelope that need to be approved, and then we need to pass these down to the clerk. So do we have a motion to approve those
Mr.
minutes?
Chairman, I would move to approve the special meeting minutes reference litigation Jetter Carlson case would be for Grand Traverse County.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Thomas, so it's moved by Wheelock, second by Thomas, to approve the closed minutes on December 12th. Let's have a roll call vote on that as well.
Commissioner Maxbauer?
Abstain.
Rennie?
Abstain.
Thomas?
Yep.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Lathrop?
Abstain.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Chairman Inman?
Yes, the motion passes. Okay, now we will move on to the first public comment, and just for the benefit of the audience, we have a second public comment at the end of the meeting, as well as if you want to speak on a particular issue, please let me know or the clerk know by getting our attention, and we'll try to provide time during that agenda item. So we'll open up first public comment. Bob Cooney, you have the floor.
Bob Cooney, prosecuting attorney for Grand Traverse County. And I have with me tonight our new Deputy Civil Counsel Chris Forsythe, and I just wanted to formally introduce him to both the board and the public. Chris has a great deal of experience in municipal law, including having been with the city of Troy for about 5.5 years as one of their 5 corporate counsel under Lori Bloom, who, as I understand it, from what I've heard, very excellent municipal lawyer who's very well respected in the state. He also joined the law firm of Flood Langtot, which is where he's coming from, where he served as attorney for Allen Park and Woodhaven. I think you'll find that you'll enjoy working with Chris. He's very even-keeled. I found him to be a real legal technician and someone that if he doesn't know the answer, I think he's going to find it. Just a little bit more about my plans as far as civil counsel go. I intend to work very closely with Chris on civil counsel. Some changes that you're going to find is that we're going to be at all of your committee meetings, like it or not, I guess, unless you tell us you don't want that. But we intend to cover all of the meetings and take turns doing that. We also intend to provide better reporting of our services to the board and also hopefully faster turnaround times on some of the projects that we get by working together. You'll also note that we've made a little bit of a seating change at my request. Chris and the civil counsel will be sitting between the clerk and the chair of the board, and that's a change that I requested because you might have noticed it's kind of hard to interrupt a meeting with a procedural question when you're sitting on the other side from the chairman. So I think what you're going to find is this is a better way for the civil counsel to communicate with the chair during the course of the meeting on procedural issues. So,
Okay, great.
thank you.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Appreciate it,
Welcome
Bob.
aboard. Thank you.
Welcome. Do we have any other members of the public that wish to speak at this time? All right, we will close public comment. We will move on to the approval of the agenda. We need a motion to approve the agenda as presented unless we have somebody has a change. Commissioner Maxbauer.
I'll move for approval of the agenda as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Support?
Okay, moved by Commissioner Maxbauer, seconded by Commissioner Wheelock to approve the agenda in our packet as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Passes. We will move on. Next item is special order of business. We have none tonight. Then we will move on to item number 7, consent calendar. If the clerk could read the consent calendar.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval is approved by a single committee action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive and file. 1, road commission report. B, approval. 1, 2013 hauler licenses. 2, fiscal year 2012-2013 Child Adolescent Health Center Grant Agreement, Youth Center and Wellness Center. 3, fiscal year 2012-2013 Child and Adolescent Health Center Grant Agreement, Kingsley Adolescent Health. 4, End User License and Services Agreement. 5, Grant Acceptance, Delta Dental Foundation. 6, Contract for Veteran Services with Leelanau County. 7, Commissioner Appointments.
Okay, you've heard the consent calendar. Does any member of the public wish to pull an item off for further discussion? Seeing none, does any county commissioner wish to pull an item off for further discussion? Seeing none, now we need a vote to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Motion to approve.
Support.
All right, there's been a motion by Commissioner Lemko, seconded by Commissioner Maxbauer to approve the consent calendar as read. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Rennie?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Maxbauer?
Yes.
Chairman Inman?
Yes. Okay, item 8, there were no items removed from the consent calendar. We will move to department action items. We have on page 21, under the Health Department staffing plan change. And if we can have Wendy come up, or who else, get yourself introduced for the public. And you have this item.
Wendy Chert, Health Officer, Grand Traverse County Health Department. What I'm presenting to you tonight is something that I think has probably been in the works for a few years, but due to the change in the health officer role and having an interim for 6 months and then having me be new and us moving to a new building was delayed. And it was a change in the organization and kind of a restructuring. Kind of some history is that the current structure, I've attached for you also 2 organizational charts. One is the existing and one is what I've proposed. The existing organizational chart has one person overseeing the entire personal health division, which is the largest part of the health department. It's our clinical services, and it probably is easily 2/3 of the entire staff. It was put into place as a temporary measure, and it was meant to be probably a 1 to 3 month solution until they could find an additional person to fill a second role, which was advertised apparently twice. That never came to fruition, and so they added a personal health manager as kind of I think a substitution. And they've been operating under this structure, I think, for the last 1.5 years, and it's just, I think, caused some confusion. It's way too much for one person. There's too many programs, too many program and grant requirements, protocols and policies. I mean, it encompasses all of the programs from maternal and child health plus everything under the prevention wing, including communicable disease. So I did not want to just come in the first month or two just make a change without really understanding how the organization works, and also knowing that since we were moving to a new building, that could actually change the functionality a bit and how we operate. So the proposed change actually would have 2 people who would each be independently responsible for the programs. One would be over the maternal and child health services, and one would be over disease control and prevention services. Both would fall under the community health division. And I think it would allow each of these individuals to focus more on those programs. Staff, it is a clear, I think, communication and supervision of responsibilities. Staff right now are confused. Which person do I go to? If I get an answer from this person, do I still have to go to this other person? And they have to approve it. And so it's just kind of an extra layer that's, I guess, not real effective right now. And it also would allow the 2, these are both management positions, to resume some of the external collaborations in the community. Essentially, when they moved to this structure, because of the demands on this one person, they've been working, 65, 70 hours a week. They've had to give up all of the collaborations in the community, which are essential to a lot of the operations at the health department. We offer a lot of services, but we don't do everything. So we do have to partner and have relationships so that we can refer and make sure that clients are getting the services they need in the community. Kind of a summary of the staff changes would be a change in the division name from personal health to community health. And this is just, I think personal health almost sounds like it's personal hygiene. We thought community health was a little bit broader, kind of a broader name, a little bit more, I guess it kind of speaks to what is really involved in those programs. Changing the working title of the personal health administrator to the director of maternal and child health services. This is consistent with other health departments throughout the state and even the country, and that's a pretty consistent job title. Moving the personal health manager, actually they would essentially not be doing any of the current duties. They would actually be a separate director and now directly overseeing all of the prevention and disease control services. We're also looking to, as part of this, eliminate a coordinator position. We would not be eliminating a person, as this person had already put in a request prior to me even coming here to go down to 3 days a week. And we actually had that position vacant effective January 1st, and that person has applied and is actually excited to move there. But we would be actually creating a new supervisor position because the maternal and child health programs are so large. Between the two programs, there's 40 employees, and there needs to be some integration between the WIC services and the MIHP program, which is like home visits and case management. We would have a supervisor who would solely focus on that, and then also we're implementing an electronic health record, and so they would be assisting the coordinator with some of those technical issues with the software and those programs. So that's the proposed changes. The net effect on our budget is it actually would reduce our personnel costs by about $5,100 a year. That's primarily because the nurse who's moving from the 5 days a week to the 3 days a work role is in the defined contribution. Defined benefit, which is the more expensive of the retirement programs. So that's kind of what attributes to that cost savings there. And we're not necessarily doing this to save money, we're doing it because the restructuring needs to happen for functionality. And operating in our new building for now 2.5 months, just the size and how the clinics are divided out, this makes sense. And I wanted to wait till we got there to make sure that kind of what I had envisioned was going to work. So we would propose to do this, essentially transition in the next 2 to 3 weeks and have it kind of up and running and change by beginning of February, if that's possible.
All right. So what you would need is a motion from this board to approve the staffing plan and organizational structure as presented. Okay.
Yes.
I'll take this back to the board.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Commissioner Thomas,
Support?
seconded by Commissioner Wheelock, to approve the proposed staffing plan or organizational structure as presented for the Personal Health Department Division of Grand Traverse
I
County.
should also add, I did meet with Dave Benda and Jen C. and they were supportive of it too, and
All right.
they knew the changes were coming.
Okay, any discussion? Commissioner Lemkool and then Commissioner Max Bauer.
Yeah, is this one of those things that you would like to have take immediate effect? Or can you wait until our board meeting at the end of the month before this takes effect?
I can wait for final approval to your board meeting at the end of the month, but if I have the support of this committee tonight, then I would probably start working with the staff to transition so that we would have 2 to 3 weeks to...
I think we could make the motion to make it immediate. Then you could transition in it and do it at your best, however you want to do it. That's why I'm asking that question.
If you're
So-
comfortable doing that.
Good idea, I'll change the motion.
All right, so the motion would be changed that this would be a full ratification. Well, actually, you're making a motion to amend your motion, which would
Right.
be fine. That this would be a full ratification of the Board of Commissioners, so we would have that understanding. Does a second agree with that? Okay. Commissioner
The other
Yes.
question I had is just a comment that, for the general public, that we as the Board of Commissioners are the Board of Health board. And so that's why a lot of these things come before us to be approved. So we are Grand Traverse County's Board of Health. There's other counties that might have a collaboration, might have 3 or 4 counties with, but we're the only board that's responsible for the health department. So for the new commissioners, just to let you know, and for the public, that we are the Board of Health.
Okay, so the motion maker and a second have amended their motion to reflect this would be a full ratification of the board at this meeting. Commissioner Max Bauer.
I just wanted to say to Wendy that I appreciate the fact that you're looking at ways to make your department more effective. And Mr. Cooney's been doing it too, and I just think it's great.
Commissioner Wheelock.
It's easier to make it more effective when you actually have room for the people to get past each other in the hallway. I just wanted to ask Dave and Jen if they had any problems with this or if they were supportive of this decision.
Oh, yeah, we're supportive. Well, Jen can speak for herself, but I'm supportive of it. I think I appreciate the fact that she took the time to get into the new quarters and then kind of work with her staff. She's gone through a strategic planning process with her staff. This has come not as a, top-down decision. I think it's been a very collaborative decision within the
It
health
read
department.
very well, and the flow of reading it just made sense, so.
So I'm very pleased.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commission? All right. We have a motion on the floor to approve the organizational structure and the staffing plan for the Health Department division with the full ratification of the County Board of Commissioners. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yep.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Chairman Inman?
Yes. All right, motion passes. You're all set?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Moving on
Thank you, Wendy.
thank you, Wendy. Moving on to administration, we have the policy on Commissioner Technology referred from the December board meeting, page 23. Dave, did you want to speak on that?
I will be happy to. The proposal from last month it was postponed until this month because of the outgoing board and a new board coming in, and they felt that it was more appropriate for the new board to decide on this. It proposes we had a lot of discussion about purchasing technology for commissioners, these items right here, iPads or...
OPEB.
And in that thought process, we came up with some people will want an iPad, and some people might want a laptop, and some people might want some other kind of device. But a lot of our information is coming out electronically now, and it's becoming a lot cheaper to do that. It's more efficient to do that, a lot quicker for staff to provide that information to commissioners via electronic mail and other items. So we propose that instead of trying to buy, figure out what the optimal device would be for each commissioner, to come up with a bring your own device. This is a new jargon in the industry out there, BYOD, rather than companies giving you a laptop or telling you, you got to take our piece of equipment. They give you a stipend of so much, and you go out and buy your own device and bring it, and we send our information to you on that device.
And that's if you choose to do so.
Correct.
Okay.
And I was proposing a $750 stipend for the sake of argument, and that's certainly something I pulled out of the air because I think that once you get a printer involved, printer and print supplies, and, if you're going to have a laptop or whatever you're going to have, you're going to get to $750 very quickly anyway. I thought that was a reasonable number and fairly economical, so that you would basically, each commissioner would get a stipend of $750 to purchase their own devices.
Now, Dave, I have a question for you, if you don't mind. For example, I have my own laptop at home, so everything is emailed, the packet's emailed to me, but other information's also emailed to me, along with township information, those kinds of things.
Right.
So I've been using my own printer and my own paper that I buy at Staples or what other store, and that I've never charged back the county for. Okay.
Correct.
And cartridges can be expensive, those kinds of things.
And ISPs.
Right. So we all have really our own style and how we want to do things with regard to the county in terms of either bringing a laptop to the commission or using our own computer and supplies at home and those kinds of things. So would this stipend be representative of you can either buy a notebook, for example, and your paper supplies and ink supplies, and you'd get like $750? It would be a one-time shot, or it would be an annual payment,
It's
or how
whatever
would
the
this
commissioners
work?
want to set as a policy.
Because I'm the type that doesn't want to carry a laptop or a notebook with me, but I utilize
A suitcase.
I have a suit. This is my laptop. This is my informational system for the county right here.
Information overload.
It's a little larger than a notebook, but I do incur expenses at home. It's hard to differentiate, what is personal, what is what's county.
Right.
So if the $750 is just to buy the notebook, I'm fine with that. And I would just carry the cost of if I want to print or ink, on my own accord at home. So
Yeah, I mean,
so if the $750 is just to buy the notebook and load everything up so you can bring it to the meeting, I'm fine with that. So what are the other opinions on the board? Commissioner Max Bauer.
Well, I think it's time that we start leading by example and using technology. I think Commissioner Rennie is going to need a computer once he starts getting into community mental health packets. By the time you get, 4 packets from Commission on Aging and the newsletter, and I just brought this with me tonight because I was going to report on it, not because I wanted to say, here it is. I mean, I just think this makes sense. And if we can also save staff time from having to copy all this stuff and mail it out, there's a savings there too. I just think that, killing trees needs to stop.
Okay, Commissioner Lemkool, and then Wheelock and Thomas.
My only concern is on this is that the cost of the laptop, and then there's another fee on top of that to hook it up through AT&T of $10 a month.
At least.
At least. And so I don't know if it's enough to cover all that. I guess that's my question. So it could be that this figure should be higher in order to cover, especially that $10 a month fee or whatever you decide that you're going to have a hookup fee if you're going to use an iPad, and then also, any kind of ink or whatever. So it could be that, we might be better off at $850 rather than $750. That's all, my only comment.
All right, we got Commissioner Wheelock.
Every other year. This is per term.
This is per term.
Per term.
Okay, Commissioner Wheelock and then Thomas.
Well, for a long time now, I've been taking paper copies, and I have a lot of little notes in the margin. I was trying to figure out where my Sharpie was going to write on the screen of my tablet. But over the holidays, I had opportunity to watch my daughter use hers. And she's a soccer coach in Tennessee, and she communicates regularly with all of her players and recruits all over the world, literally. And it was very simple to watch it work. I'm a little slow technologically, so it takes me a little bit to get there. Yeah, technologically challenged, although I've come a long ways in the last 10 years. But, for me, I still have pros and cons, but the idea that my average packet's 100 pages, that somebody has to print and collate and distribute to me, and I get those from 6, 7, 8 committees a month. That's a lot of time that someone has to spend. I'm willing to work toward figuring out how to make it work, and whether the number's 750, whether it's 850, I'm pretty sure right now they're emailing me part of them, and I'm printing them off already. So, I don't see where I'm worried about the extra $100 if, at the end, for a number to try it for the first 2 years. That's my perspective.
Okay, Commissioner Thomas.
Who's going to show me how to use it?
IT will tell you.
And do you have internet available at your home?
I did have a phone line when I had a printer, but I was paying for 2 phone lines a month because they wouldn't work together.
Right.
And, do I have to go back to a phone line, or?
No.
No, you don't. Not anymore.
I can steal it off somebody else?
The Charter.
Yeah.
If you have Charter, they offer an internet service.
I know your neighbor quite well. I can probably get
You come over to my house.
passwords.
Well, hey, somebody's going to have to show me all this because I don't even have a phone.
Commissioner Lemkool.
The only other question I had was whether or not we can use the county purchasing program to be able to purchase these programs rather than us going out into the market to try and do that. And so, we would purchase it for us, and we would receive that as using their discounts, because there are some pretty substantial discounts through government.
Having just bought one for Christmas for my wife, the price tag has come down significantly since I bought one 2 years ago for my daughter.
So I'm just saying if it was possible that we might want to work toward that direction.
Okay, Commissioner Rennie.
I have a question on a stipend. It said something about on a payroll. So is that considered earned income? What is that?
Well, you can deduct it as an expense.
Okay, you can look up from there.
But the personal property tax people will come at you and ding you for personal property tax.
Will we pay Social Security and things like that on that?
Not if you deduct it
that
as
will
an
be
expense.
separate.
Yeah.
Okay, another question I had, shouldn't we be buying this stuff locally, or should we have some provision that says a voucher or something at a local business that sells this type of thing within the county, or?
Well, I think that's what we work with through the county, so.
Yeah,
That's
You know,
the
this is
idea.
a- this
Bring
is-
your own devices, you can buy it wherever you want.
we did this for simplicity. It would probably be income. It would, because it's a bring your own device thing, it's a recognition that commissioners generally spend money on technology to receive and do their jobs.
And we do.
And you do. I mean, I pay $50 a month for my high-speed high-speed cable modem, and that's not even the fastest one. But it's pretty good. But when you start slowing down, it gets tedious, so I'd rather pay the $50 than pull my hair. What hair? But at any rate, you're going to spend every bit of that. This is not, the amount that was put in here for an example isn't close to what I would anticipate you're spending already. If you're, Larry, you got printer, you got ink, you've got an ISP for $50 a month. Right there, you're over $500 a year. So it's just a recognition that you're spending money on this stuff and that it costs money to be a commissioner, and this is an additional cost that is now in excess of things that you had to incur earlier. Now you have to be.
But it's also an attempt to save staff time.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it's absolutely an
So
attempt
if
to
a
save staff
commissioner
time.
decided to take the stipend, they can either buy a laptop or a notebook or whatever. And it also would cover or for commissioners that have laptops at home that are sending the packet electronically, that if they printed their own packet at home, then that stipend would cover the cost of that printing the paper and the ink and everything, and then that wouldn't have to be mailed a packet, those kinds of things, if they accepted the stipend. Would that be the understanding?
Yep.
All right, okay. Commissioner Dr. Lathrop. Dr. Dan Lathrop.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, if we accept this, we're saying we're not going to ask to have a packet sent to us anymore.
Correct.
If you accept it, or if you don't accept it, then you can have one mailed.
And there still may be opportunities that you're still going to want, some information printed and provided to you.
Will we have the option to say, I don't want the money, I'd rather have the packet?
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Rennie.
The point is, are we not trying to posture the board like we're going forward in the right way? An example for the public, whatever, saving money? I think what Chris is trying to do.
Well,
We
I will
do here, and
I will
if
tell
we
you,
split up on this, I don't see, why do it at all?
well, here's what Northern Michigan University did when I was on their board. They did a complete culture change. We used to get mailed a packet for all of our board meetings, all right? And what they did is they went to a laptop system where when you came to the meeting, everybody had a laptop in front of us, all right? And so the packet was on the laptop, and the packet was presented on the screen. So you can either look up to the screen or look to your laptop, and we would just follow the agenda, and everything would be on the laptop, and it would be already set up here at the board level.
That seems easier than this other method?
And the packet was emailed to us, so we would review the packet on our computer at home, assuming we all had one, all right? And so we would review the packet, so we would know what we were coming into, and then when we got here, we would review the packet online, or excuse me, in the actual notebook that we had here, and also would be on the screen. So we all went with that culture. It worked out fine, and nothing got printed. So that would be an alternative, is that, we wouldn't get a stipend, is that we would have notebooks on our desk, and we could go through it, and it would be presented on the screen, and we would be emailed the agenda as well. We can review it at home. So that is another option, and the stipend, we would just go out and buy one. A notebook would be provided at every committee meeting and board meeting. That'd be another way of doing it, rather than just getting a stipend and just go out and buy it.
That's going to cost you at least as much as doing it the other way.
So,
I didn't hear that. What did you say?
It's going to cost at least as much to do that as it would be to
Correct.
do the stipend and
Exactly.
do the other.
I mean, that just another
And then
way
you
of
have to
doing
deal with
handling it.
who sets up who loads each one of the laptops and sets them here on the desk and
Now, for
all of those issues.
people that don't have computers at home or a laptop at home, I don't know. I mean, they could come in and get a packet if they want to drop by or whatever. That would save the postage or whatever.
Well, they would opt out, right? They'd opt out of the program.
Well, we wouldn't have there wouldn't be a stipend.
I
We would just have we would just have a notebook here on every table,
Oh, I see.
and then we would email you the packet. You can review it at home, and then you would come here, and it would be on the notebook and also be on the screen.
Well, or at any
One way of
time
doing it.
if you had the laptop or the tablet of your own, at any time you can stop by the governmental center, we can download the packet for you.
Or that'd be another way of doing it.
That's a matter of a few seconds.
Yeah, Commissioner Lemko.
I'll get this started. I'll make a motion that we approve an $850 stipend for every commissioner at the beginning of their term if they agree to receive meeting and supporting documents electronically in lieu of the paper documents.
Okay, that's simple enough.
I'll support.
If they choose to do so.
If somebody doesn't agree to that, they still got to do the paper.
Yeah.
They can still do paper.
But they don't
They do.
get the stipend.
Right.
We will allow public comment. If you have to come up to the front.
Mark McKellar with the Road Commission on the board. What this is a great discussion, and I wanted to weigh in on this because I've got some experience in that in the last couple of years. I'm a member of a board. We're throughout the state of Michigan. There's 20 of us, and we were getting 184-page emailed board packets, and we had supplemental packets, and it was incredible. Some of the stuff couldn't be downloaded or, in an email because they were so big, they were broken up. We had staffing issues. We covered it all. So about a year ago, the board was presented with the option of iPads. And what we did with the iPad is this. We issued all 20 of the board members an iPad. And there's an app on there called Dropbox. The IT department of our organization, once the information is prepared, is put on the Dropbox. You don't receive an email, and it's instantaneous. From the Dropbox, there's an app called Goodreader, or you can choose one called iBooks. Now, Goodreader is free. iBooks cost about $9 to download. What you do is you build an inventory of all that in your iBooks, and that's what everybody uses. It's like literally reading a book. I can tell you, you can earmark pages. You can print a single page if you want. You can carry them anywhere. You have wireless. You have access to that. If this room is set up with wireless for the commissioners.
It is.
Okay. And you have it at home or at your office or wherever, you can look and view it, all this information. And what we found is none of us print anything. And we can look back at documents months back, year back, or whatever, and we love it. I can tell you what, at first there was some real resistance to doing it because some people already had some iPads, others didn't, they had notebooks, and others just really didn't want to get engaged. Now we're all engaged, and we wouldn't change a thing, and we've saved a tremendous amount of money, and we can get this information quickly, and I can tell you right now, there's no loading it up, there's no, you bring it to the meeting, you put it up, and we're all pretty fancy now, we think, but we're a bunch of old people doing it. But I'll tell you what, I could spend, if it was hooked up right, I could spend a half hour with Dick, and he would be a whiz at it. It's just that easy. It's seamless. And seriously, Dick, you can do it.
Well, I happen to know where your office is. I could use a lesson.
Absolutely, Chris, but we're going to have to go to McDonald's so I can get wireless. At the credit union, we don't have wireless, I just wanted to share that with you. Everybody's on the same page. We get a phone call or an email, hey, it's in your Dropbox, and we're rocking and rolling. I'll tell you what, you guys, you'd love it. It's very easy, and your IT department can do it for you.
Okay, that could be part of the stipend, so. Okay, we appreciate the public comment.
Absolutely.
All right. Anybody else have public comment on the motion? All right. So we have a motion on the floor by Lemkool and was seconded by
Me.
Max Bauer to allow a $850 term of the office stipend, which is 2 years, to receive electronic packets. It would be responsibility either to buy a notebook and bring it in, or you could print it out at your home office. Or at your home.
Optional.
It would be optional. a commissioner that doesn't receive the stipend would receive the packet in the mail. Okay, discussion. Commissioner Rennie.
Is that making us consistent across the board?
Yeah, I think if you want to get the stipend,
People
then you
using
would
different
receive it
methods,
electronically, or you could buy a
maybe different
notebook.
iPads or different products or something like
Yeah, you
that.
could do anything you want.
We historically have
Yeah, you
had
could,
all the options.
you can get a notebook through the county purchase or buy one.
That's a different thing though, right?
and you
You
could
already
pr-
said
and you-
something that's quite different.
Or
Do
you
we
can,
get paid, or we get a voucher, do we buy it?
you can do anything you want. For $8.50, it's your responsibility. It's,
How is
the packet is sent to
How does
you.
the $850 come to the board member?
It could be, it's going to be in your paycheck.
Payroll?
Payroll.
Probably the paycheck, yeah.
Yep.
But then you would pay for whatever you bought
You understand?
through the
Yep.
county.
So you would be responsible for either buying the notebook and bringing the information to the board meeting, or you can print the packet at home.
I understand that.
And
I'm
if
just
you
looking at
don't
it from
want
the
the
standpoint
stipend,
of the board looking consistent to the
Right.
public. That's what my point is.
yeah, well, I think it's a preference issue at this point. And if you don't want the stipend, then you could have the package printed, you can pick it up here, or you can have it mailed at home. All right, Commissioner Lathrop.
Thank you. I was just wondering, I was going to ask you, sir, can I ask him a question?
Sure.
Okay. Is there any benefit for us all having the same device?
Yeah, there is.
You'd have to come up here to
That gets
the microphone.
us what I'm trying to say.
Because what it sounded like, that having the same device was a big benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. Wendy and I were talking back here about that, as a matter of fact, is that the applications I was talking about, iPad, and these are apps that are exclusive on iPad. Of course, they're relatively virus-free. That's one of the aspects of it right there. But everybody would need to be on the same iPad unit, and you'd be buying them in volume, and you'd have them serviced locally, and your IT department would be responsible for maintaining those. And the apps, again, you're not buying software. You can get a $25 printer that's wireless now at your home. And again, you only print out the page you want, not the whole packet. So what we're doing at our board level, we all have iPads, and they're all set up with the same stuff.
So essentially, page 3 on my iPad would be page 3 on everybody's iPad.
Absolutely. And if you wanted to print 3 and Commissioner Wheelock wanted to print 5, he prints 5.
And if there were different devices, that may not be true. We couldn't say, go to page 3.
No, it would be the same.
Well, you could.
Electronically,
You could.
it would be on the same format.
You could, but I'm going to tell you that when you use an iPad, it formats it differently, and it creates the documents then have features that you do not have in a PC application.
Okay.
For earmarking the pages, and there's customizations that you can do in iBooks or Goodreader. You're not going to get a bookshelf. You're not going to. That's the thing. It's completely interactive, and consistency is what's critical.
Okay. Commissioner Lemko, thank you for your public comment.
Yeah, we've got 2 weeks after we make this motion to really do some research, and I would ask our IT department to maybe make a recommendation to us as to the type of unit that we might want to have, so that we are all consistent with the same type of unit, and that they would also maybe give us maybe a little bit of a training program when they get those machines in here, so we can all sit down as a group to learn how to use the machine the proper way and the most expedient way.
Let's not televise that meeting, okay?
Okay.
It'll be a training program.
Everybody understand the motion?
We can bring in a 12-year-old to
Yeah.
show us.
If the
I'm
motion
bringing my
approves, then
grandchildren.
we'll have IT come in with a recommendation if we want to have our own notebooks. Okay.
Not to
Commissioner
be
Rennie.
tedious, but one more question.
Yeah.
Then should we set the figure at $850 now, without doing this
I don't think
research?
so.
We should wait till we do our research?
We can always amend the motion at the
Yeah.
end of the
Yeah, at that
meeting.
point.
It has to be ratified at the Board of Commissioners meeting at the
Anyway.
end of the month.
Right. Right.
All right. Any further discussion? Everybody understand the motion? Okay. Roll call vote, please. Motion's for $850 for a stipend if you choose to use it, or print, you're just going to receive it electronically. If you don't want to do it, then you don't get the $850.
Okay, Commissioner Wheelock?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Lemkool?
Yes.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Thomas?
Grudgingly.
Chairman Inman?
Yes. All right, motion passes. And then we'll have,
We'll get to that.
Dave, if you could get Contact Department to make a recommendation at the end of the month.
We will
Or
get right on it.
a notebook for those that choose to have it. Okay. All right, that takes us to the next item, which is the Administrator Controller Report and Legislative Report.
Okay. Got a couple things that aren't on the report that I want to talk about that are general county items. As you know, county departments have been working on work plans for 2012 and are submitting those right now in anticipation of your strategic planning process. And I wanted to talk to you just a touch about that right now. I guess I envision that we will present you with a booklet with all the plans that have been presented to us, and they're written plans, and they're all in a similar format. The way we've sent it out, we're asking for them to be returned in a similar format. But then we want to give those departments about 10 minutes or 15 minutes to just review that with you. And we'll do that by invitation. Ask the departments to sign up for a time, and you're going to need to set aside probably a couple of half days, or maybe a half day, and then see if you need another half day, to go over these and kind of review them with departments. After that, we want to start on a strategic planning process with the commissioners. And I'm trying to locate a facilitator at this time. There have been some recommended to us. We're looking into those right now. I've got John Syke working on that. And someone who can actually facilitate that strategic planning process for you. And I think after the departments meet with you, you will have an idea of where they're coming from, what's facing them, what kind of things are on their horizon, and then you can proceed into the strategic planning process with that knowledge in hand. So I just wanted to kind of review that with you and let you know that that's in the works. Some departments need to get those plans in that were due by the end of the year. They've been a little slow coming in. And I have the letter drafted after this discussion. I didn't want to send it before the discussion tonight, but I wanted to make sure that they all knew that it was going to be coming up, because I have a feeling you're going to set a meeting time pretty quick here. We're also working on getting our significant accomplishments for 2012 together. Departments have been submitting that, and we're putting together a little report to the board and the community about what the county's accomplished in the last year. And I've called and spoken with John Axe, who's our bond counsel and financial consultant, and he's been given a copy of our 2011 actuarial evaluation for retirement, and he's going to be putting together some information for the board to look at the whole idea of bonding for retirement benefits, for the liability. I also wanted you to know that we've got a draft agreement out there for the boarding and placement of animals. We've got it at Cherryland Humane Society. We have a meeting with them tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to come to some agreement with them about how that's going to be structured. I don't think that there's any, I don't think the issues that are remaining are insurmountable, so I think I'm very hopeful that we're going to have an agreement tomorrow. And in the animal area, the Health Department and Animal Control have met with Corporation Counsel to discuss several legal questions regarding large animal duties, the duties that are done by the sheriff and done by the animal control officers, and what happens when it crosses over into felonies and things like that. And they're working on that. The sheriff is aware of that. I spoke with him last week. The Health Department's aware of it. And hopefully we're going to get to these policies and protocols on these large animals. There's a number of issues that need to be resolved, but I think we're going to come forward with some written resolution to all this for you. So that's still in the works. They're still working on it. I wanted you to know also that we've been working on governmental center security. Our administration office and the facilities department has been working with DK Security, and we've still got to work with the city on improving the overall security at the governmental center. Under the new arrangement, we're talking about the front doors of the governmental center being locked in the evening, and a security guard to be present whenever we have open meetings. So right now, there's some issues about, right now, Porcelain Patrol locks the doors, and then if the city's meetings or the county's meetings, we haven't had this issue, but the city has, somebody's trying to get into the meeting because they've been watching it on television, and they get to the doors and it's locked, they might be in a violation of the Open Meetings Act if we do that. On the other hand, we don't want the homeless roaming around in our hallways, and downstairs, and we've had some issues like that. So we're working on that, and we think that it's going to be a relatively cheap solution. I've got some details worked out, but it's just got to go through this. We got to get the city and get all the arrangements for that taken care of. But the idea is, when those doors are open, somebody is either there to watch or they're locked. And we don't have just strangers wandering in and out doing whatever they want at certain times of the day. So I just wanted you to know that was almost done and should be done very quickly. Dan Scott retired, as everyone knows, I believe. Saw an article in the paper this morning. He retired on January 4th, and we wish him well and thank him for his service, his 30 years of service to the residents of Grand Traverse County. And I also want to thank a couple of corrections officers, and I'm hoping I pronounce her name correctly, Mary Acko and Al Clifford. They provided CPR and AED training for all county employees. Several employees sent me letters thanking me for allowing them the opportunity to relearn CPR or learn CPR, and they thought it was wonderful. So we didn't have to pay a trainer. We just had these employees do this training for our employees, and it was great.
Okay, two things, Dave. First is that when the strategic plans are completed by the department heads and put in the packet for us to review, I'm just wondering if we could have, at that time, Linda sent out a notification that this is complete and that we can pick it up at our boxes instead of being mailed out. And then the second part is that if she could Google us for, probably a set of several meetings that would be available on our calendar moving forward, that we can, because usually they end up being a couple meetings. It could be one meeting, or they could be or it could be a follow-up meeting.
Right.
That we have that, if we can have her Google us on our calendars for what would be available. That would be great. And the second part is, normally when a department head retires with 30 years of service at the county, we provide some kind of recognition plaque at the board meeting. If we could have staff follow up on that, maybe have it available for Chairman Lemko to present to Dan if he's available at the end of the month. If not, we can get it to him. Yeah, I know. So we, all right, we could mail it to him. Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say, I know where his retirement was from the last time.
All right. Well, it's whatever the board's pleasure is.
I think just a recognition certificate stating that we appreciate his 30 years of service.
We'll mail it to him.
And then we can mail it to him. Yeah. All right, that'd be fine.
He'll have to mail it to an 18th green because he'll be on a golf course.
Yeah. All right, Commissioner Lemko.
Dave, you talked about security. I'm just wondering if we've looked at the possibility of using cameras with a buzzer on the door through central dispatch.
We did.
And I didn't know if that's even feasible. I don't.
We did consider that, and I had to back away from that position with our 911 director.
Okay.
As you realize, 911 is on the third floor up here, and they were afraid that the homeless people would lean on the buzzer. And they didn't want a buzzer on the door, because we do have a lot of homeless people walking around out there.
I was just thinking with the camera that they can see somebody visually
Problem is,
and then open the door.
Central dispatch can be busy.
Yeah, that's true.
And if central dispatch is busy and someone needs to get into the building, we can't have the two.
That's fine. I was just a
We did try to press the issue, and I was convinced at the end of it, at the end of the discussion, that she was probably right.
I'm sure you're not going to back off on that one. I'm pretty
Believe
sure
me,
of
I'm
that.
not crossing
But
Jamel.
we are improving the entire camera systems. That's another thing, I didn't really go into that because it's not really been put down into black and white yet, but
Okay.
we've gotten the district court up and running now with their system, and, because it's a very old system over there, but we're going under one protocol, which is all internet-based, so we can go, so we basically, for every camera that we put in, we'll have the same software looking, and we're going to be doing there's going to be about 4 cameras in this area. I'm going to say where they are, but we're going to have some pretty good, some visual eyes on, so, and 911 will be able to see that, so.
Well, and having come into this building at 9, 10 o'clock at night on a couple occasions and finding, people sitting at a table on the second floor or down in the cafeteria, and you wonder, what are you doing here?
Well, yeah, we've had a couple incidents with
we've
some
had some
homeless
issues.
folks that were a little aggressive with, for example, the Porcelain Patrol people taking the trash out. And it just called to attention, when I first got here, I heard from Ben about an Open Meetings Act issue, and then I heard about this other incident, and I thought, you know what? We really need to get our security together on this building. We need to tighten it up a little bit.
This building was never built for security. Believe me.
And it's not very conducive for it either.
Not at all.
But like I say, for all of our meetings, our scheduled meetings, it'll be, the way we've got it proposed right now with DK is, it'll probably cost about $2,700 a year to have that extra protection, so.
Okay. Any other questions on his update? All right, thank you, Dave, on that item. We will now move to unfinished business. The first item is the Tattle Board of Trustees Resolution Agreement. Just to give a little history on this, and I'll tell you the current status and give you a recommendation on this. Probably 6 or 7 months ago, the the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners set up an ad hoc committee to talk with the mayor and representatives of the member library to discuss the possibility of changing the complexion of the district library in terms of how we appoint. Previously, or currently, the city has 3 appointments and the county commission has 4, and it was brought up through the committee system that there was a recommendation that the city have 2 appointments and the county commission have 5 because of the changes since the early 80s when we first created the Traverse Area District Library Board of Directors, that there's been, over time, over the last 25 years, there's been greater population shifts outside the city limits. And there's also been the development of a number of member libraries that collect a part of the library millage that is imposed on the voters. So through a number of meetings that occurred, we ended up coming up with some conceptual agreement with the mayor that he thought he could bring to the city commission for approval. And when he did that, towards the latter part of last year, the city commission asked that a couple items in terms of disclosures, be removed from the agreement. And subsequently, there was a meeting with the city commission attorney and Bob Cooney and Chuck Judson, who's the attorney for the library board. And there was a number of minor changes in the agreement. And then it was presented last Monday to the city commission. To my understanding, it was not approved at the city commission. It was approved conceptually with the understanding that there would be an attorney review on the agreement and potentially brought back. So Bob indicated to me Bob Cooney indicated to me prior to coming into this meeting, of which we wanted to make sure everybody got a copy of what the city commission was looking at in terms of a conceptual agreement, that Bob subsequently met with the city commission attorney, and there are already a couple word changes and phrase changes already that they're going to be coming back to the city commission and to our board with regard to this agreement. So Bob indicated to me that he would prefer that the Board of Commissioners not take action on what we have on our desk in terms of what the City Commission looked at on Monday, which is dated January 8th from Bob Cooney on your desk, that we defer this item to our board meeting under new business, and that would provide him, he thought, enough time to come to some agreement with the city commission attorney with regard to some language changes in the agreement that he thought would be acceptable to us in the city. So if we could have a motion to defer this item to, under new business for our month-end Board of Commissioners meeting, that would be completing the recommendation from Bob Cooney.
So moved.
That was exciting.
So,
That was the most exciting motion in my career.
We've had this discussion about this tattle board more than hours enough
Okay.
already,
I'll
so.
support.
All
we'll
right,
move
so
to
we have a
defer
motion by
this thing
Commissioner
again.
Wheelock, second by Commissioner Max Bauer, to defer the Tattle Board memorandum of understanding to our board meeting at the end of the month, last Wednesday, of the month, under new business. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right. Next item is the county administrator's report, and just let me give you a little background on that for the commissioners that were unable to attend the December meeting, and the two new commissioners that are sitting for their first time here at RMA Committee. At the December meeting for the Resource Management Administration Committee, Commissioner Fleece placed on the agenda the item of the county administrator's contract. And during that meeting, it was Commissioner Fleece's recommendation, having been one of the commissioners that initially did not vote for Administrator Benda to take the position within the county, that given his 6 months' experience with County Administrator Benda, that he felt that all the issues that he had and that he assumed that the board had in terms of any reservations about Dave Benda as being the top choice and someone we would like to retain for as long as we can, that any issues that he had were resolved in terms of the perfect fit that Dave would bring to Grand Traverse County as a county administrator, and that he felt that the board should go back to the original recommendation made by Jen Seaman that was negotiated with Dave Benda prior to her bringing the recommendation to the board, that we should go back to that original recommendation, which would be consistent with a county administrator with the number of years of experience that Dave has had in the state of Michigan as a county administrator, his level of knowledge and experience that he would bring, and that during the 6 month he demonstrated that he would be a good fit for the county commission and for the staff and management for Grand Traverse County, and that we would want to maintain Dave moving forward for a consistent period of time. So it was Commissioner Fleece's recommendation to approve a new contract for County Administrator Dave Benda based on the original recommendations that Jen Seaman provided the board back when we hired Dave, and that decision was changed to a lower compensation level, given some commissioners' reservations about David Benda in terms of his fit here at the county. So at that meeting, it was an 8-0 vote with everyone supporting the going back to the original recommendation for Administrator Benda based on Jen Seaman's recommendation for terms and conditions of a contract. And then Bob Cooney indicated at that meeting that under state law, if you approve a contract from month of August to the end of the month, to the end of the year, legally it has to be a 1-year contract.
An even number year,
Yeah, and even under an even number year. So technically, we had to provide Dave a 1-year contract with those same terms and conditions that were originally presented by Jen Seaman, and that was approved at the December board meeting for a 1-year contract with the change in the terms and conditions of the contract as originally presented by Jen Seaman. There was also a motion at the board meeting that the board made. It was an 8-0 vote. Commissioner Max Bauer was absent during that vote. That they requested that the item be referred to the January RMA meeting So technically, we would be under the statute of Michigan that would provide that the board now can provide the 3-year contract for County Administrator Benda under the same terms and conditions that we approved in December. So it was a technical matter that Bob said that you'd have to wait till January to present a 3-year contract under the same terms and conditions if you wanted to provide more than a 1-year contract. So it is on the agenda for today to discuss Dave's contract and changing it from a 1-year contract to a 3-year contract. Since then, I've received a discussion with Commissioner Dan Lathrop regarding what I think is an excellent suggestion regarding the current language under the contract that he felt strongly about, and I would now defer, I guess, the discussion to Commissioner Lathrop.
Well, thank you. This being new, first time I saw this contract was today. So it took me a while to read through it, and actually he's going to get more than 3 years, he's going to get 3 years and 6 months if we approve this, which is okay. But what I was concerned about was, what I didn't like was that, and I don't like it for any county employee really necessarily, that people just automatically get raised without being evaluated. And in this particular document, there was talk about evaluation, but it wasn't linked to his raise through the steps, like from 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'd like to see us link his promotion through those steps to his evaluations.
And then when I got back, just for some information, I thought that was an excellent suggestion. I know something I hadn't thought of before. I did indicate to him that, we do have an annual evaluation for our county administrator, and that it was assumed that he would continue his contract upon a favorable evaluation, and that he would get to that normal step raise that everybody else gets in the county. So, but I have absolutely no problem, and I did discuss it with County Administrator Bennett before the meeting in terms of just having council change the language in the contract for the month-end board meeting to reflect that under the performance evaluation, that the step raise that we have for his position within the Human Resource Department as he continues his tenure with the county would be subject to a satisfactory performance evaluation by the Board of Commissioners annually. So I'm happy with that. I don't know if anybody else has any other suggestions, but if someone would like to make a motion to that effect, we can have Bob make that change and then have it reflected at the month-end board meeting.
Well, one thing I'd like to say is what I like about that is that then we don't have to worry about a 2 or 3 year contract, because every year we have some security that we're happy with his performance. And so, if I get that, then I'm happy voting for a 3-year contract.
Okay. Go with Commissioner Wheelock.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the County Board of Commissioners pass a contract for County Administrator Benda through December 31st, 2015. That would be basically the 3-year contract. And I have no problem with putting the wording in about the evaluations, the annual evaluations. We do those currently. I only would stress that I hope we can find a better format by which to use for the evaluations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the formats that we've been using in the past are truly inadequate to properly evaluate the job of the administrator.
We could suggest to put that on the next month's RMA agenda, and we'll present the commission with the current performance evaluation form, and maybe Jen could come up with some different thoughts about how we can do this.
We have to do something.
So we have.
You don't have to do it that quick.
Yeah.
I'll support.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Wheelock to take his current employment contract agreement and make it a 3-year contract effective at the January board meeting at the end of the month, and that we would amend this contract with legal counsel's assistance to tie bar his step raises to annual performance appraisals that would be satisfactory to the Board of Commissioners. Okay? Questions? Commissioner Max Bauer.
Okay. The first thing I want to say is, I think Dave Benda has done a very good job to date. I wasn't especially excited about the budget process, but I understood and still understand that he came in very late in the process. It was a process that he was not familiar with. And we got a budget. Wasn't my favorite budget that I've seen in the last 6 years, but he did his job. I think he is a very good administrator, and I quite honestly think he's better than our last administrator. However, I am not going to support this, and this is just a fundamental belief of mine. I would vote for this if it were a 2-year contract, but I don't believe that we should tie the next board's hands by giving a 3-year contract.
Well, here's what would be my response is that it is typical for a county administrator to make a commitment to the county that he is going to.
Pardon me.
It is typical for a county administrator, a city manager, a college president, someone that like Elaine Wood's position at Northwest Michigan Council of Governments that has an employment contract. Kevin Klein has an employment contract. And it's consistent that those contracts be in 3-year lengths. And that it provides a level of consistency in terms of the administrator making a commitment to our county in terms of staying here in terms of employment, that he can move his family and incur the expense of selling his whatever actions he has to do to sell his home, move his family, buy a new home, and make this his new place to live. So the 3-year contract is consistent with those types of positions. So any county administrator that would come into Grand Traverse County, either in later dates or whatever, or other counties that administrators would be applying to, would get a 3-year contract if they got the position. That's what they would negotiate. Now, it goes both ways. It gives us a sense of security, knowing we have someone with high talent that's going to make a commitment to our county and will be here for 3 years. And it also gives him security, knowing he can move his family and sell his home and come to Grand Traverse County, and he's got some level of employment security here. Now, the issue of the 2 years is that by virtue of his contract, we have built into it that prior to the 2 years, I believe it's 6 months ahead of time, okay, we have to give him notice whether we're going to renew the contract or not. All right, so that means 6 months prior to that, that means the beginning of the second year, we have to, as a board, decide if we're going to have an ad hoc committee or if we're just going to get together and discuss it and just agree to extend his contract. We would have to give him notice, technically after the second year, that we're going to extend his contract for the following year. And otherwise, he would be out looking for his job. He needs some kind of notice that he needs to go out and look for a job. So technically, the notice factor in the contract would basically provide what you're kind of driving at, and that is, you know, technically it's a 3-year contract, but we would have to give him quite a bit of notice that we weren't going to renew the contract. So I feel comfortable with the 3-year contract with a 6-month minimum notice of not renewing, as a response to your comment.
Well, just to rebut just a little bit, you know, the 3 years doesn't really give us that much security. We gave Dennis Aloy a 3-year contract, and he found what he believed was a better offer, and he was gone. And, you know, I mean, if somebody came in and said, you know, Mr. Benda, we've got this county here, and we're going to pay you $400,000 a year, and, you know, we're going to, you know, I mean,
it can happen.
Yeah, it can happen.
Right.
I do, however, believe that when we enter into this contract, we need to enter it in good faith and honor it. The only way I personally would consider terminating a contract like this would be if there was something illegal that happened or negligence. I believe when you make a contract, you make a commitment. The other question I have is, when Commissioner Lathrop mentioned criteria, for step increases, I think we have a responsibility to give him a target, because if he doesn't have a target, he doesn't know what he's aiming for. Just to say that we're going to give him a performance review in 6 months or a year and tie that to a raise without giving him any kind of criteria as to what we expect from him, I don't think is fair.
Well, let me respond to that. We did have a criteria for Dennis for his entire term he was here. The Board of Commissioners met annually and had a three-year strategic plan, and we had an annual work plan, of which Dennis did a report on a periodic basis on the status of his work plan. That was the county board's work. And he also had an opportunity for commissioner comments regarding his performance regarding that work plan on a monthly basis at our board meetings. And commissioners could at any time bring up any topic or issues or concerns regarding his performance and what was expected in terms of not only his day-to-day responsibilities, but what the goals were for the administrator and the county commission as a team. And he continued to report on that, and annually he kept getting, as a consensus, like 8, 8.2, 8.5 out of a scale from 1 to 10 in terms of a performance review. So to me, that is, unless we change the format of his performance evaluation, to me, that's the best guide we have to knowing where we're going on an annual basis with our county administrators when we set up those annual work plans and those strategic plans, which are a little bit longer in nature, which we tend to work on every year, bit by bit, and we meet on and talk about, and he reports as if like he does today, the administrator's report. It's within the direction and guidelines of the Board of Commissioners of what we want to see him work on, what we pass as resolutions, his work plan and his work task that we approve monthly, not only with the strategic plan, but as we move forward on a monthly basis as things change or things get presented to the board. We direct staff to do that, and he reports back. That's his responsibility. So he gives us a monthly report on his performance, and so we're informed monthly. We can have a dialogue about his performance monthly based on his report. So I think we've got a great system in place for the county commission to set the plan, work with the administrator, and have the administrator report monthly on the plan. And that's what he gets graded on.
I don't totally disagree with you, but I'm not sure I totally agree with you either. I think that Dennis is working with the department heads, bringing in a plan as to what the department heads are looking at and are setting a budget is one thing. We really have not sat down as a Board of Commissioners and said, Dave, we want you to do this, 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 and this, and we want this kind of a timeline. And I think we need to do that.
I agree.
And we need to, and so there's two different issues here. So when we're starting to bring a facilitator in to talk about what is the work plan for our community and for all of our department heads and everybody else, that's one thing. But I really feel strongly that, and that's one of the issues I think that we had with our previous administrator. We did not sit down and decide what we want them to do in what kind of timeline, and I think we need to have that discussion.
Commissioner Willock.
Well, I think there's good points here, and earlier in the evening, Dave outlined step by step how we're going to get strategic plans from the departments and how we as a commission are going to meet and review those strategic plans. Once we know the strategic plans of what our departments see as our community needs, then we as a board are going to be better qualified maybe or better informed to set forth a strategic plan of what we want, or a work plan that we want David to do. I don't think we can complete these as isolated things. We have to do both of those at once. And as soon as that's completed, then I believe there's no question, we will, coming out of the strategic planning session, have a work plan for our county administrator to complete in 2013, 2014. You know, there's no way we're going to not come out with a 2-year plan. You know, we should come out with a 3-year plan, but that's being a little optimistic, I'm afraid. You know, I think the most important part about talking about this contract mirrors the good faith negotiations that took place between the Grand Traverse County Human Resources Director and candidate for County Administrator David Benda. In the 11th hour, the Board of Commissioners sat here and chewed apart that contract that had been negotiated in good faith, took out bits and pieces, and we still ended up with a contract. Fortunately, at least in my mind, David still chose to come here, you know. But now, you know, this contract mirrors what was negotiated in good faith by the HR director between Grand Traverse County and Dave Benda. We need to stand up to the contract.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to just add that I think it's a great idea to have the step increases linked to successful evaluations. I also think it's a great idea to define what you're going to evaluate me, what criteria you're going to use. I can throw a few things out that I know what my job is. I know my job is to make sure that we have to work on improving the morale of the workforce and to have a productive and positive workforce. I know that one of my jobs is to make sure that out in the community, the county is viewed positively and to project a positive image of the county. I know that it's to create financial stability for the county and make sure that I understand exactly where our finances are going and make sure that you understand where our finances are going. Those are 3 major things that I have to do as a county administrator. And those are big outcomes for me. And that's, those are my foundations right there. I need to project a positive image for the county and for myself and for this board. And I need to make sure our employees get that message. I need to motivate those employees. I need to provide some leadership and, some direction for various things and be very supportive of our staff and all the things they're trying to do. I mean, I can make up the list of criteria. And I don't think anybody's going to disagree that that's my job. And I don't mind being judged on, because that's what I'm working for. So, don't make a mystery out of it. It's really not that tough.
Okay, Commissioner Wheelock.
Chris, one other thing I wanted to mention, you talk about only making a 2-year contract because of this board. We have voted to pass bond issues and financial obligations that will take care of the next 15 or 20 boards.
I view this differently, Senator.
Well, I'm not sure that it is. For one thing, I would be very concerned if I were a new commissioner coming into Grand Traverse County and not be confident that the county administrator that was in place was going to be there. It would be really tough to think that you're going to come in with new board members or maybe even a majority of new board members and not have an experienced, qualified administrator to get you through it.
Dave, did you want to make a remark?
on the 3-year thing, it's the reason these are 3-year contracts with 2-year term boards is that when you hit the end of that, if you have a clean sweep, you have one whole board exited and a new board comes in to clean house, they usually first thing they do is throw the administrator out too, and then there's no severance, and then you're just out. And the reason that people like me, city managers, county administrators, we ask for a 3-year contract is so that it overlaps that, and they still have to pay the severance. If they want to get rid of me on January 1st, that's fine, but I didn't do anything wrong, at least in the minds of the last board, so you need to probably pay me the severance that's in the contract that was in existence when you walked in the door. That's the reason for the 3 years. Otherwise, you can get out in 6 months. I mean, you can say goodbye. The thing is, there's a severance clause that you got to pay out, so.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion on the floor to move forward with a new employment contract that is presented on your desk with the change that we will have Bob Cooney and Civil Counsel provide some language in here that will tie bar the annual performance review with the step raises annually. Then if you want, we can get into a separate motion about, how we evaluate him after we get done with this. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Okay. Commissioner Lathrop,
Yes.
Lemkool,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
No.
Rennie,
No.
Thomas,
Yep.
Wheelock,
Yes.
Chairman Inneman.
Yes. All right, motion passes. And I don't know if you want to add, I think based when we get through the
We will
strategic planning and then...
approve the evaluation program when we set it forward. That's it.
All right, Commissioner Lathrop.
I just want to say, Dave, I knew you wouldn't shy away from any evaluations. I'm sure you're going to exceed our expectations.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank
I have confidence in you. And
Okay, that concludes that item. And we will now move on to the memorandum of understanding for the Grand Traverse Band. I need to explain this to you and give you the recommendation. As you know, when Dave got on board, he suggested that we re-ratify the conceptual agreement from the previous board a number of years ago that we sent to the tribe for ratification to their board of directors, their tribal board. Basically, in your packet, you have it. It was a conceptual agreement that was put together by the Board of Commissioners that basically was a pre-understanding with the tribe as they continue to put lands in trust, that as they develop those lands, the assessed value that would be placed on that land would be assessed, and then they would pay a payment in lieu of taxes or an impact fee or whatever, how you want to call that. Sent to the tribal board. They didn't respond to it. We thought we had an agreement. Unfortunately, the tribal board and the chairman have turned over several times since this agreement was originally sent to them. The new board had no knowledge of this agreement, and neither did the new chairman. So we did send that to him for historical knowledge and information, and hopefully, at some point in time we could get together. What we got back here recently was a letter with a conceptual understanding, which was basically in your packet, that calls for a committee, a more formal committee, not an informal committee, a more formal committee of the tribal board, members of the county commission, and members of Acme Township to come together on a periodic basis and talk about issues on both sides, so we would have a better understanding of their operation and our operation. And then we can get more into discussion about, our wishes for this conceptual agreement that we originally sent to them. During the meeting at Acme Township, they had received the same agreement. Their board asked us not to take action on this item tonight because they had a couple changes they would like to make in the verbiage of the memorandum of understanding that the tribe sent us. And their suggestion would be that a possible suggestion, of course, would be to have a couple members of our county commission meet with the supervisor or their board members and have our civil counsel available to go over the agreement and to see what changes they have in mind and whether we would agree with it or not. So we have an agreement we would all agree, and then get a hold of the tribe and present it back to them. That was their suggestion. The other suggestion would be to also ask the tribe to consider some representation from Whitewater Township, since the casino is located in Whitewater Township, that they should have some membership on this committee for communication purposes, that we would ask them if they would consider adding a member of Whitewater Township to the agreement. So that were the 2 points that were made last night at the Acme Township Board, and I said I would bring that recommendation back to this board for consideration. Commissioner Wheelock.
Well, I'm not even sure where to start anymore, but if you look at the memorandum of understanding that was negotiated previously, you'll find that I was board chairman in 2007, 2008 when this was being done. It was started based on the fact that Grand Traverse Band of Ottawa Chippewa Indians made application to annex, I believe it was 72 acres, adjacent to the Turtle Creek Casino, between the casino and Arnold Road, into the trust fund land. Multiple meetings, dozens and dozens of meetings were held between myself, Larry was there, Dennis Aloya was there, Bob Kay, who was the tribal chairman at the time, and Ron Olson, who was their economic development director at the time. And I thought we were all under the understanding that it made sense that the tribe should pay some sort of, I talk about payment in lieu of taxes. Every time I mention that, John Petoskey goes nuts, because it's an impact fee. What it is a fee that the tribe would pay to the local units of government to offset costs incurred to provide infrastructure, whether it be road maintenance, whether it be police protection, whether it be fire protection, whatever. Those fees are for when they do economic development on these trust lands. They pay a fee back to the local units to help cover infrastructure and costs incurred by the local units. We were there. We literally had, I have no idea how many meetings between coffee shops, their tribal headquarters in Shabbytown, their police headquarters in Stallman Road. I don't believe they ever attended a meeting here, because their tribal council would not come here to this governmental entity, which I don't think I'll ever understand, but that was the way it was. But literally, we were right down to signing this, and this was approved June 25th, 2008, and by the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners. We re-ratified it in 2012. I don't even understand what this memorandum of understanding that come from the tribe is. All it is a recommendation of how the committee is made up. It doesn't address any of the issues that were contentious 6 years ago or 5 years ago and are still contentious. And, right now we are in the process of, or the Bureau of Indian Affairs is in the process of evaluating whether or not another large tract of land that is not even adjacent, it has some separation, can also be added to the trust land. And, unless my memory has completely gone nuts, when we went through this discussion before, we talked about the fact that they had some sizable tracts of land that they had already procured right of first refusal on some agricultural property that's out in that area also. The fact is this was put together so as if the tribe went into a situation where they were going to provide economic development on that property. And when we heard all different kinds of things, from light industry to bowling alleys and arcades to retail shops. But one of the real concerns that was discussed was what happens if, because of, for example, at that time it was the Meyer controversy. Okay, instead of Myers being able to build on South Lautner Road in 72 and get the permits, if the tribe were to get this economic development property, they could tell Myers, you come here, we will let you build it here, you will pay us, but you won't have to pay any land taxes. You won't have to pay any personal property taxes. And you don't have to do it, because it is not taxable land by the government, because it's on trust property. We not only lose the development in our other general property, but we lose the revenue for it. If Kmart decided to close up their facility on US 31 in Acme and move on to the trust land, we not only don't get any revenue from that development, but we lose the revenue that we're getting over here on the property now. And that was the key piece in the discussion of why Grand Traverse County needs to have a payment in lieu of taxes, an impact fee, you call it whatever you want. But if Grand Traverse Band is going to be allowed to do economic development on trust land, there has to be a way to compensate back the local units of government and the local taxing entities for the tax dollars that are being lost by that development being on trust land.
All right, well, Sonny, I guess what I'm envisioning out of this after, I guess, having some informal conversations with their attorney, I guess, is that this is the process that the tribe would like to use to get to what you're talking about, okay? Because we have you have to understand, we have a brand-new board and a brand-new chairman, all right? So they understand the issue. What they're saying is, okay, let's confront the issue now. The best way to deal with it is we think the best way to deal with this is let's get a section of the county and Acme and us together, and let's work out the details of what needs to occur if we can come to some conceptual agreement. And that's the process they want to use. So it's the first step forward. So that's what they're asking. Now, Acme is saying, gee, I got some questions on some of this language that they put in this thing. I'm assuming it's minor in nature and not really hard content problems. So what they've asked is, let's have like the chairman and myself, since I'm involved in the casino and it's my county commissioner district, along with Bob Cooney and the assistant and the deputy civil counsel, meet with representatives of Acme, see what's going on with this agreement, see if we agree with what their changes are, bring it back, have both boards approve it, send it back to the tribe, suggest that they also invite Whitewater into the agreement at the same time, and start meeting and moving forward with these discussions as you presented. I think that's the format that they want to do it in. So all I'm asking for is, if the
All I'm
commission...
asking for them is to pass the amendment of
I know, but-
understanding that we passed in
Well, that'll be
2008.
that'll be the first agenda, I think, on our first meeting, but I'm just going to look to the chairman and say, is this something that, you and I and civil counsel can meet with Acme on and work on and come back with, the language?
Yeah, that's my recommendation, but I will also go along with the recommendation to table this until, you want to table it till next month?
Yeah,
Or do you want?
yeah, and then you and I can just meet with
Okay.
Acme and then we'll work.
So I'll make a motion to table it.
Table to the next RMA
Yeah.
meeting. Okay.
I just have a question for David. David, when we first met, you and I talked about, is this the issue you and I talked about? We were talking about, in a sense, requiring the tribe to live up to this 2%.
This is a different issue.
Yeah,
Well, this
is
an
that a
issue we
different
can bring
issue?
up.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is another issue we can bring up with that committee.
Well,
Okay.
what's going to happen, and what happened through the whole discussion of this, was they were going to take the impact fee, whatever you want to call it, they repeatedly said that money would be taken from the 2% money. And I don't,
That's different money.
well, it's not necessarily different money, because if you read the compact and you read
That's
the
where the
consent
stipulation says.
requirement, they are required by law to give that money to the local units of government to cover infrastructure. And it hasn't been done that way.
But those are
And
things that
you
we
are
can bring up.
exactly correct, Commissioner Wheelock.
Yep, those are things we can bring up.
Yeah.
And we got to
We'll work on
understand that all the tribes in the state of Michigan are going to start discussing their compacts with the state of Michigan, which could affect our discussions with them in terms of what we want versus what the state wants.
They don't all come due at the same time.
Well, yes, they do. They're all expired in November of 2013, according to John Petoskey.
Not unless somebody's changed the dates on the other ones.
No, because the pact for the tribe was consistent with what the other tribes had signed, what I understand.
We'll look into that.
So, we have
August 9th.
a motion to
Table?
defer.
We're talking about all
All right.
tribes.
We have a motion to defer this item to next month's RMA meeting. It was moved by Lemkool and was supported by,
I'll second it.
seconded by Lathrop. All right, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right, and then Herb and I and Civil Council will make an arrangement to meet with Acme Township. That concludes new business. Moving on to second public comment. Yes, sir. No.
I'll be brief, I promise.
Oh, go ahead, Carl.
Carl Brown, Grand Traverse County Road Commission. We also had our organizational meeting on the 3rd of January. I'm assuming you've all met Mr. Cook, our new manager.
No, I haven't.
You have not.
Hello.
Doing a wonderful job. we're very pleased.
Yeah, you missed
We've got a lot of challenges, but
Yeah.
he's doing a wonderful job.
Under the palm trees.
At that organizational meeting, I was appointed chair and Dave Taylor vice chair, just to bring you up to speed on that. In your packet, there was a couple of things. I just want to, I'm not going to hash them over, but I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Our board has had some real concerns and questions about the Cass Road Bridge with the dam replacement. Our engineer is meeting with all the players, so we can look at all the options. There's multitude of options that maybe that dam or the bridge where they're wanting to put it is not the best use of our tax dollars.
Invite him.
He has been to our meeting and really pointed out another very viable option. That's Jim Johnson is looking at all of those. So and once he has that, he is going to try and schedule a joint meeting with the county board, Garfield Township, and the road commission. So we can all get up to speed on that, because there's been so many numbers thrown out there that aren't right, and hopefully we can keep everybody abreast of exactly what's happening. So the other one I want to hit on is, I know some of you were at MTA. John Rogers from the Road Commission has put together a program called Mix of Fixes for maintaining our roads with joint cooperation to the townships, which the last 2 years that program has been getting bigger and bigger. Hopefully our budget is going to allow it to continue to get bigger so we can address our road issues out in the outlying townships. Garfield Township has partnered really. We've got about, I don't want to pick out one, we've got about 5 or 6 that have really participated well with us, and we're looking for continued cooperation with them. The other one in the packet also is we did amend our budget last year's budget to finish out 2012, and we have a draft budget, or approved a budget number 1 for 2013, which we always revisit after we find out how winter impacts our dollars, which that's our biggest impact. Also in there, there's a note on there that we had 3 written correspondences from Talus seeking funding. I went back from 95 until end of year last year, and I was quite amazed. We have funded Talus to the tune of $582,000 since 1995. And that does not include any wage that was paid through 08 that was incurred to that. That's a staggering, staggering number. I'm appalled at what we've received in turn for that number. I'm certain we're going to look at that funding very, very closely at our next meeting. That's just a number that is just unbelievable. I could not believe. With wages, we're over $600,000, and I personally don't see the return on investment.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
One more thing?
Yep.
Civic Center South, which you
Yes.
folks have graciously funded some projects out there. It's probably going to be a slush rink this weekend, but the ice rink that they designed and built, unbelievable use already.
Oh, great.
So your continued support out there, if you haven't been out there, you need to get out there. It is fantastic. Fantastic.
All right, great. Thank you for that report.
Thanks.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we will close public comment. Move on to committee reports. Anybody have any reports to make? Commissioner Lathrop.
I attended the Old Mission Peninsula Township meeting, and they kind of let me know that they're on, not any official way, but kind of a discussion way, Rob Manigault et al., let me know that they're kind of unhappy with the amount of, they believe they're paying more than their share for sheriff patrol. And anyway, he looked at me and says, we're going to be coming to the county about this. So I I don't know anything about it, I just want to give you guys a heads up that it's on their minds.
Well, I can give you the background and response on this. Is that somehow, I don't know how Manigault got on this tangent or their board, but he's of a belief that he's trying to take some proportion of the taxes that are paid by the Peninsula Township residents and say proportionately so much of it should be law enforcement and proportionately should provide for so much activity. What he forgets is that out of the whole taxes that the Peninsula Township pays, and as well as other townships pay, is that you pay for all the county services in the county. You can't just separate one thing out of the budget and say, I think proportionately it's weighted this way, so we should get more money for police protection this way. And we have to pay for courts and dispatch and probation and all the county services and health and everything else that, he's trying to segment one segment of the tax dollars and try to equate it to a percent of our budget and say we should have more road patrol out in Peninsula Township, and we shouldn't have to pay for a community policing officer. And the community policing officer is just solely a discretionary part on their part if they would like to have more patrol than normally would be scheduled in their area. And it would be there to get ahead of the curve in terms of combating crime and whatever that would be occurring, but they would have a designated officer for traffic and crime and those kinds of things, different reports that could occur out there. So the fact that he wants to make a case that in their mind that proportionately they should have more road patrol than any other township based on their tax dollars, you can't come up with a formula. And this board cannot get into the discussion with local units of government of what portion of the taxes that we incur that should proportionally go to whatever they wish to go for in their particular township. And we as a governing board make decisions of how the allocation of the county taxes should be spent proportionally within all our departments and what's important, what's priority, what's not, and how that should be distributed. They make the same decision at the township level about their tax allocation and what they should be paying in terms of services and programs at the township level. So, I just want to let you know and the board know that, and they tried that move on Aloya without any success, or the previous board individually, that, I'm not going to buy a discussion that comes in and says, based on the taxes we pay in Peninsula Township, we should have 2 or 3 more police officers. Because we can't make that judgment call or that discretion. We could make the call and enhance the sheriff's department budget and ask them to create, more road patrol, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that particular township's going to get more activity on road patrol or not. I mean, I'm not going to get into a micromanaging discussion with every township about what they pay in taxes and how it should be delivered. Otherwise, what good are we? We're elected, we're responsible for making those decisions of how that money is appropriated. Mr. Thomas.
We are obligated to have a jail, not a road patrol.
And I'll tell you what,
By law.
we're one of the few counties in the state of Michigan that actually have road patrol out of our general fund. A lot of counties have gone to, if you want road patrol coverage, you have to pay a millage. And it's on the ballot every 5 years as a renewal. We're one of the few counties that don't do that.
I'm not defending this, but
Yeah.
I just want to point out that, I don't know who it was, it might have been their, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, it might have been their attorney, but somebody on that board said, it's customary in other counties that the county pay for it, that this is an unusual situation. Now, is that true?
Well, we have standard road patrol in that area.
Yeah, we have 24 officers that are paid for 100% by the county general fund, and they are for patrolling the out county.
Okay.
They don't patrol the city, although they can. They patrol the out county.
So how do we answer
And the other 24 or so are paid for by individual units that they want a police officer, they want that face in their jurisdiction.
So the people that have more the districts that have more officers, they pay for that?
They pay additional, and the county actually subsidizes that as well.
Okay,
The
so,
cars are, they don't pay for the cars. It's not a fully loaded cost.
Equipment.
They actually, they just
We
pay
pay
us an amount for for an additional officer, and we actually subsidize that.
so when they have this argument that other counties pay for this,
That's not true.
okay, so I gotta go back to them and
We
tell
do
them.
both. We
Yeah.
do the contractual with townships, and we do the.
Okay.
Yeah, we end up co-paying for the communication officers. It's a partnership between the county
Yeah.
and the townships where they pay the salary and the benefits, I think, and we end up paying the car, the equipment,
Gas,
the training, gas, everything
overhead.
else. So we end up having a partnership. And what we did was, we ended up expanding our coverage with participation, and they're just designated for that area. Otherwise, there would be just simple, normal road patrol in the certain regions of the county that we're currently doing now. So, let's go with Lemco and then Wheelock.
It takes 5 officers to cover one person on duty in a 24-hour period, 7 days a week.
5.5.
So that's 5 officers in road patrol on duty at any one time in all Grand Traverse County, period. That's a lot of area to cover by 5 officers. So, I mean, if you start looking at the numbers, all of a sudden you realize that, 24 officers really isn't a lot of coverage. And that's why it's important that these other townships, if they want additional officers, do come to it. Garfield Township has 12, if I remember, plus a detective, that they pay out of their budgets, and we pay for all their cars and their uniforms and everything else, but they pay for the wages and benefits.
Mr. Wheelock.
Well, when you talk about the 24 general patrol officers, you have to look at a couple things. Number one, yeah, they're not designated in any particular area, although we do have a west side car, and we have a south car, that type of thing. But those community policing officers in Garfield Township do make calls into Peninsula Township, into Long Lake Township, into Blair Township, if it's an emergency situation. But more importantly, those general patrol cars go where they're needed, and I'm sure the sheriff would be more than happy if we'd like to figure out a way to authorize some additional deputies and provide additional cars. But, we truly, I was involved in emergency services for 36 years, and we are truly very, very fortunate to how available we have cars when we need them. I work in some other districts that don't have that level.
Well, I've heard Supervisor Manigault say on a number of occasions, Old Mission Peninsula is not necessarily a hotbed of crime, and he's correct. And I've also heard him, they do pay a millage for a police officer.
Right.
That being said, I think that we need to express our appreciation to the townships that do finance community additional officers, because we would not have the protection that we have in this county without those townships, and I don't ever want to forget that. I am so grateful that those townships step up and do what they do. But that's not why I raised my hand. I raised my hand because the Commission on Aging had a meeting this month. And the Commission on Aging has a new program started up. It's called KISS. Please do not ask me what KISS stands for, because I don't know.
Keep it simple, stupid.
That's what it is.
What they are doing is they are joining in a partnership with RSVP, and they are going to recruit volunteers to keep phone contact with seniors that live alone in the community. And there's going to be follow-up. It's really an exciting new program, and I'm looking forward to hearing more. We also had our first joint Senior Center Commission on Aging newsletter, and I meant to bring you all a copy. I walked out without it.
I got it.
Did you? Oh, good. But it really is excellent. It gives all of the events coming up. There's a Snowman Day, January 19th, although Lori Wells said that it might be a sandcastle day if there's not any snow, where people are going to be asked to donate money and food for Father Fred and be able to build snowmen out on the lawn along Front Street, and there's a Valentine's party, and there's a meet and eat once a month for $12 a year. You can go to the senior center and once a month and have a themed meal. There will be recipe exchanges. I mean, there's just all sorts of information in this magazine. And so I will try to remember to bring
Okay.
some in. I'm sorry, I forgot. It was
there
a
a way
late
public
meeting
can
and I
get
walked
home?
out without it.
Is there a way someone in the public could get a,
Yes.
where can they pick up a copy of that?
Yes, these are available at the Traverse City Senior Center. They are also available at the Commission on Aging office on Front Street, and that's 520 West Front Street.
And I'd like to compliment Commissioner Maxbauer on her comment regarding thanking those townships that have stepped forward and are working with us on community policing officers and enhancing the patrol and safety. It's a great program. It's a partnership. We're probably, kind of a model in the state on how we're doing this thing. And it's really worked well received by the public. And believe me, those community policing officers, they're like family down there at the township halls. I mean, they just love those guys to death. And the residents can get to those guys fairly quickly. They have office hours, and it's a great program. So, yeah, we should thank the townships and appreciate them from, having this partnership with us on those officers. Commissioner Wheelock.
I wanted to be sure and thank David Binda for attending Long Lake Township's meeting last night. I talked to Dave about trying to get out to the townships. I was a little surprised when he came in last night because I didn't know he was coming. But I do appreciate the fact that he would take the effort and time to get there, so.
And you've completed most of them, I think.
I think about half of them done.
About half of them done?
There's quite a few.
He
Yes,
was
there
he was at Peninsula last night, too.
Right, he left
so-
Long Lake.
Unless he's got a clone.
There you go.
Trust me, you can get to 3 township meetings in one night if you have to.
We love these
Been
meetings,
there,
don't we,
done
Jeff?
Oh, yeah.
Well, being a county administrator is truly 24/7 when you really think about it, because if on the emergency side and the sheriff's department side, you could be called anytime during the day, night, weekends, or whatever, so.
No, taking care of dogs and stuff.
Yep. Okay, any other commissioner committee reports?
I can give you a short one because I know people are getting anxious to go. I did attend the Camp Pugsley quarterly
Good,
meeting.
and I missed that one, yeah.
Very interesting. I've
It is.
never been on the premises before either way.
Oh, yeah, it's different.
Well, it's kind of nice to get off.
330 average inmates daily now, 250 full-time employees.
Wow.
$19 to $20 million a year budget.
Wow.
Freaked me. I was shocked. Obviously, it has a big impact on the local economy over there. So
Right,
they very much value it.
yeah.
But it was interesting to see something like that in
Yeah, Commissioner
operation.
and I and Felice normally attended that meeting. Before that was Virginia Olds. But during the summer, they'll actually ask if anybody has an interest in touring with them inside the prison, which is really different. But, I was just walking along with the warden. Of course, this is a level 1, so it's not really high risk, but you go into the dormitories, you go into the workshops and the teaching rooms and the cafeteria and those kinds of things. And it was a pretty interesting tour. So I assume that if there's a change in complexion on that board, that they'll probably ask if anybody wants a tour in the summer, or we might bring it up. But I try to attend those meetings because I'm the chairman of the State Corrections Board in Lansing.
Another very interesting point is there is about 350 inmates there that have mental issues.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And what an impact it has on that facility.
Oh, I know.
And the cost.
Yeah, and the risk factor.
With that 350 plus this 7, that's 300.
Well, that's 356 then, right?
Well, we got the same thing in our county. Charlie, when you think about it, we really got the same issue in our county jail. So, Herb?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that they're continuing their community garden program that they have out there, that they were working with Project Fresh, and they were providing food to our local community. So they are part of our community and really doing some wonderful things and the inmates want to be part of that because they're learning gardening, but they're also feeling as though they're part of a community and providing a quality program and services for our community.
That's where they learn
I
how
like
to grow
that.
pot.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Anything else on reports? Any notices and announcements? Commissioner Lemko?
I'm just working on the part of, NACO has a National County Government Month in the month of April,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm working on
Okay, good.
trying to put that together. I've talked to Carol Stocking to talk about the judges as to what they might be able to want to do. So they're going to put that on their agenda and see what we can do. And I'll be talking with Sheriff Bensley to find out what he might be able to want to do, so we can really promote the fact that county government is an important part of our community.
Well, I appreciate you being on the head of that curve on that, because I keep forgetting about it, even though I've got a 20-year history with NACO. You've always focused on that, I appreciate that.
Anything else on notices and announcements? Seeing none, do we have a closed session?
No, we do not.
Okay, now we need a motion
To
to
adjourn.
adjourn. Moved by Wheelock, seconded by Rennie. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yeah.
We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Congratulations on your first meeting.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for that suggestion.
Thank
on that
you.
contract. I appreciate it.